So we are part of the You Run podcast network, where there's other various podcasts that you can check out, everything from true crime to movie reviews to everything else in between. And then with that, welcome to the Paranormal Misfits podcast, where the curious roam, the weird feels at home, and horror is just another day in the office. I'm your host, Chrissy.
And I'm your host, Nino Daniel, and I love clocking into this office.
And we are so excited today. We have two very special guests. You probably saw Nino do his smartphone in a horror movie version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we spoke about it during episode 2.
When I did my Q1 horror movie review, this was brought up.
Yes. So we have the director of Monster Mash, Jose Can you tell me your last name? I'm so sorry.
It's just as it's written, Prendes.
Prendes. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have Ethan Daniel Corbett. I'm sorry. Corbett. I could not see it for a second. I probably should make.
Do you want my glasses?
I probably need them. So how are you both doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here, to be asked. Movies like ours don't really get a lot of press, so it's nice when people reach out and want to talk about it. So thank you.
Of course.
No, that was fantastic. I made my husband watch the movie with me. I watched it by myself, and then I was like, "You have to watch this now."
Oh, wow. Yes.
So.
And also to mention, Ethan was the star of the movie. He played Ethan and his cheekbones. Ethan and his cheekbones played Dracula. And at the very end of this, he's going to drop his skincare routine because, oh my God, glass skin.
Yeah, I'll message you privately.
Yeah, he's like, it's just a little bit of like, blood sucking and like staying up late, avoiding the sun.
Exactly.
I love it. Awesome stuff. Well, we want to just take a moment and have you both, introduce yourselves. Definitely, Jose, we'd love to hear a little bit about like what it's like being a film director, loving horror, and anything that you can kind of share to the audience about your up and coming journey, not your up and coming journey, but like your journey so far with being a movie director.
Great. Well, I've been making movies for over 20 years, and I'm very happy to be able to say that. A lot of film people have not been able to have, as a consistent of careers I've had. I mean, I'm not a millionaire or anything, but I've been able to make movies, and that's something that it's not as prevalent as you would think for people who want to make movies. I've worked in sort of a lower budget range, but with that comes a lot of freedom to have fun with the dialogue and the characters and things like that you normally wouldn't get if you were with Warner Brothers or Universal. But I grew up almost with no limits on what I could watch, so horror movies became my absolute favorite thing. I gravitated to them because they spoke to me. They didn't feel scary. They didn't feel something to dread or be scared of, because they felt welcoming in a strange way, and there was a freedom there. And I think most horror fans notice that, and that's why they tend to really gravitate to that kind of material. And I knew early on I wanted to make movies. I mean, since I remember walking out of like Superman 2 at the age of 4, I'm like, oh man, I want to do that. At the time I wanted to be Superman flying around, and then the real power is in writing and directing, because that's when you can really craft everything. Ethan's a terrible actor, but when he works with me,
sir,
he's amazing. I could really get him to where he needs to be. No, Ethan's great. But no, the fun part of directing is you get to be the ringmaster. You get to put on this circus, and you get talented people like Ethan, like the rest of the cast in this movie, and you say, okay, here's the ring, here's kind of what I need you to do, go, and then they bring the magic, and then the post and all that stuff is, it's a whole other ball of wax. But to me, it's the best job in the world, because you get to make believe and you get to work with amazing artists who hopefully, if you're on the right team, also believe in your dream and want to dream along with you. So it's incredible. The fact that these movies actually get released and people get to watch them is scary, because then you're showing yourself to the world in a way. Not as much as Ethan is, but it's every ounce of that movie is a part of me. So it's hard to, that's why I don't watch reviews in general. So I gotta stay away from that. But long story short, I love horror movies. I love directing. That's me.
I love that. I do want to add, I feel the same way, the way you felt about Superman, because when I watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I thought I could fly. And
sure.
According to my broken ankle, I can't. But
no, you got to bounce on the trees. You got to use the trees.
Definitely, yeah. Let me just lose a couple more lbs and we'll get right on it. Oh my gosh, Ethan, go ahead and introduce yourself. Talk to us about being a working actor and your love of horror, and really just kind of anything else you can share with the audience about what it means to chase that dream.
Hi, I am Ethan, and I am an actor. I've been an actor for, I think, for as long as I can remember. My dad worked for Warner Brothers. He was a gaffer and best boy for Warner Brothers. So when I was a kid, he used to take me on set, much like Jose does with his kids. He takes his kids on set a lot. So growing up, I remember my first time I was ever on a set was for Dennis the Menace 2. And they were shooting like the climax scene with like Carrot Top was like buried, like knee deep, I think in like cement or like manure or something like that. I think it was cement or something. And then I remember meeting like Betty White and like all these like really cool people. And then I walk up to, I meet the director of the movie. And the director was like, looked at me. And at the time I had a bowl cut towhead kid, and he like looked at me and he said, hey, can you say something for me? Can you say like, oh, Mr. Wilson, like Dennis the Menace? So I did. And then he was like, man, I should have hired you. And then I was like 5 or 6 at the time. And that stuck with me. And I was like, this is my entire personality now. Like I'm an actor. Like that moment changed my life. And in terms of like horror, horror was always like a huge influence on me and my friends. So every weekend we would walk down to the Video Depot, like back when VHS video like stores existed.
Mm-hmm.
Be Kind, Rewind.
Yeah, every week. Yeah, exactly. Every weekend we would walk down to the Video Depot and just like look in the horror film section and look for the craziest cover. Like, what's the weirdest, strangest cover that we can get? And then we would just pick that one. And I remember the first time I was ever scared out of my mind was watching the original Carrie.
Oh my God, yeah.
That I literally could not sleep for like weeks after that movie. And I was maybe like 11 at the time when I watched it. I was like 11 or 12. But so I've been a working actor ever since I was like 18 years old. I got my start in theater, and then I did a soap opera for a few years, and this is now my second movie working with Jose. Whenever I work with Jose, it's always a yes. Whenever he's like has some crazy idea, I'm like, yes. I don't even need to read the script, dude. I just want to work with you. Yeah, he's so fun to work with, and he's really good at what he does. And like again, we're working in like low budget films, but sometimes, in my opinion, like those films are like the most fun to work on because you have to really figure things out, and like and it's like for the most part it's like less commercial, and you can just do what you want to do, which I really appreciate. So yeah, I've been an actor, and I feel very, very blessed to be a working actor, because it's not easy, and and I'm really grateful for people like Jose in my life who just walk up to me and like, hey, do you want to play Dracula? And I was like, yes, that sounds. It was like, I remember I was at the gym and he texted me and he was like, question. Would you be willing to dye your hair black? And I was like, why? And he was like, I'm writing a movie. It's about Dracula, and you have to do it. And I was like, yes. Like the instant he said Dracula, I was like, that is,
Yeah,
I have.
Mhm.
you
It's
have
an
to.
iconic character, a little nerve-wracking, but I was like, I have to do this. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. And then Monster Mash was born.
I love it.
Like 6-7 months later. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Right.
I could just imagine Ethan being like mid squats and it's like, all right, I got to play Dracula now. Got it.
I got this.
Honestly, same, except I don't squat though, ever.
Yeah, I was doing squats in between every take, right?
Right, right. Yeah, and doing like gua sha
I-
to keep them cheekbones high. Yeah.
Yeah, I demand that he if he's not squatting, he's either in the scene or having lunch. But if he's not squatting, I won't work with him.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Chrissy, do you want to take us into some stuff about Monster Mash?
Absolutely. So, Jose, how did the idea come to be for Monster Mash?
Well, I wish I could say it was my concept, but this was brought to me from the asylum. I was on post on another film, The Exorcists, with Doug Bradley, which I'm very, very happy about. We shot that in 6 days, just like Monster Mash, but we'll talk about production later.
Yeah.
It was a doozy. But I was on post on Exorcists, and development team comes up to me, run actually by Anthony Ferrante, who is the director of the Sharknado franchise. So
Stop.
yeah, he was one of our producers, and
Oh my God.
he says at the time I was wearing a Monster Squad shirt, and because it's one of my favorite films of all time, and he walks up to me and goes, "Oh, we're doing a Universal Monsters kind of like team movie. You should get on that." And I looked down on my shirt. I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah, I want that. I want that very, very much." And so I at that instantly texted everybody that I could, the head producer, development people, sent an email. I want it. And the fact that they were going to call it Monster Mash was like, oh my God, this is a dream come true.
Oh,
This
is
doesn't come
great.
around ever. It never. They never make these movies unless they make them kind of like a kiddie, jokey TV show
Mhm.
kind of a thing. And we wanted to approach it as a serious, we can't say universal, classic monster movies approach. And I was like, I'm in. It was the easiest yes I've ever given to a production. Let's do it. And it was something that was going to happen fast. We were sort of towards the end of the year, and I got the green light almost immediately, and then I started writing, and then it was trying to figure out how to get this type of movie made in downtown Los Angeles, which is not the easiest place. When you think classic monsters, you don't really think downtown LA, but we had limited means, less than we had on my last one, and things were going to be very tight. But this was a movie that, I grew, like I said, horror was not something I was scared of. I found comfort in it, and the black and white monster movies were my favorites. I had all of them on VHS when they re-released them in the 90s. Even all 5 Mummy movies, all the Invisible Man movies. So I was very well versed in this world, and I wanted to honor these characters as best I could, with the ingredients I was given.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where the development process was, and we wrote the script very fast, and then it was just sort of trying to make it work, knowing, okay, they're going to give me 6 days. I have to make sure I fit this, and this. And that's not even half of it. That's not even the hard part.
Wait.
till
May
production.
I interject? Did you say the film was shot in 6 days?
Mhm.
Yes. Shot the
In
movie
human time.
technically 7 days, but there's a reason why. We'll talk about production later. Technically, it was a 7-day shoot. Originally 6, but because of the makeup being practical, that takes time, and they wouldn't let me do that off schedule. So we really only have 8 hours of shooting time in those 6 days. It was real hard. And so I did my best to make the script as
Ethan's like, yep.
filmable as possible, but still make it a fun experience so that monster fans can really like, hey, okay, the guy behind this really cared and really likes these characters. It doesn't feel like some kind of, cheap cash in, because at the time there really wasn't nothing we were like cashing in on. I just, I wanted to honor Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, and Kurt Siodmak, and all these greats who came before me, and that was my goal at the Inception point.
I love that. I have to ask, for comedic purposes, is the movie based on the song at all?
It is not, and we included. I probably subconsciously yes, but and we tried to get the song, but it was more than our budget. So yeah. Unfortunately, it's I think we're just sort of the Monster Mash part sort of came from the plot itself, where Dr. Frankenstein is building a monster body for himself from all the different parts of a monster, so they're mashing together. So that's sort of what we did.
I love it. I would have never guessed that it took like that quick of it. Literally, it takes me about a week to fold laundry. Like, and y'all were like,
I mean, just wait until you hear about all the hurdles we were thrown in in the middle.
No, I literally, well, now that I want to, sorry, I have 56 questions I want to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard from Jose's perspective of like the pre-production part. Ethan, on your part, was there any type of like requirements or prep things that you had to do specifically for this?
Well, I mean, yes, there was a lot of prep I had to do, but the thing is, I wasn't confirmed to play the role until like 36 hours before we started.
Stop.
And I was on the other side of the country.
Oh my
God. I was visiting because I shot a movie in Virginia, and my brother lives in South Carolina, and we hadn't confirmed Monster Mash yet, so I wasn't sure about dates, and I was on that side of the country. I shot a movie there. Went to go visit my brother, and then we were trying to figure out things of like, am I confirmed? Am I gonna have to jump on a plane? And then eventually we finally confirmed it. So I had about like 36 hours to prep. So
oh my gosh.
So I was like, what can I do? What can I do to like prep for this? Because this is an iconic character. And I was like, I mean, thankfully, like, playing characters like this is kind of what I do. Is like that's the type of character that I play. Like I draw a lot of inspiration from Christopher Lee. He is one of my favorite actors of all time. So and he happened to have played Dracula before. So like,
no biggie.
I kind of pulled on that kind of stuff, and I leaned heavily on music. I was like, what can I do to help me prep in such a short amount of time? And I was literally, I made a playlist of like these classical songs, specifically Lacrimosa, if you've ever heard that song. Yeah, like that song I had on repeat. I had it playing from my phone because I couldn't put my headphones on because I had makeup.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was like, okay, so I just had the song playing on repeat, and I would walk around set, and Jose can attest to this. I would just play that song, and I'd be walking around the studio like to the beat of that song. And I'm like, that's how I got into character. And then on the very first day, I forgot about this until right now. On the very first day, Jose was like, can you also do an accent? And I was like,
okay,
sure can do.
Sure can do, sir.
Yeah.
Wait. I could swear we talked about the accent beforehand. I don't think I sprung that shit on you.
Or, no, maybe it was on the first day. Maybe it was like when I like it was like that week. It was like
During the 34th hour of
like
preparation.
Right.
24 hours, something like that.
Right.
We spoke about it, and I do remember I watched a few clips of Bela Lugosi, and I was like, I don't want. I was like, that's iconic. I don't want to like carbon copy, but I want to
Mhm.
emulate a little bit of that, emulate a little bit of Christopher Lee, and then I was like, okay. And in my opinion, when you're doing an accent, overdoing the accent can come off as just like fake or disingenuous to the character. So I was like, I'm just gonna do a light touch of an accent, and I think it actually ended up helping, just having like a light touch instead of like trying to go for something
Yeah.
that was like too strong. So yeah, and honestly, sometimes this limited prep time, it forces you to just commit
Yeah.
and just go for it, because we were doing like maybe 1 or 2 takes per scene, like
In America?
yeah, 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 exactly. So we
Jose.
yeah. Well, it's not Jose's
Hey,
fault, no.
yeah. I would have given them all day for a scene. You know, it's one
Yeah.
of those things where it's like, and here's the thing: if they sucked, we would have taken more takes. You know, like
Mhm.
it's not there. Let's try this. Okay, no, okay, try it like that. But they were so good. Everybody was a team player, and everybody fucking rocked that I didn't have to worry about them. So, you know, but if we got it wrong, we would obviously try to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is like I feel like every time this is my second movie with Jose. The first movie we did was called Headless Horseman, and it was another asylum film, 6-day movie. Um, and I learned a lot by working on these films, being like, oh, I have to just trust myself, like just
Mhm.
make a choice and go with it, and then trust yourself. And I've carried that with me on my other projects. But even Monster Mash, we had way more hurdles and obstacles in our way. But I would argue it turned out, even like, I thought Headless Horseman was great, but I think Monster Mash, even with all those extra on top boundaries, like what Jose is able to do with these obstacles and boundaries is really incredible. And knowing what we know about like the filming process of Monster Mash, it's like incredible that we pulled it off. So it's really, really great, and a testament to Jose's skill and dedication to making movies.
Oh yeah.
Your check's in the mail. Thank you, pal.
Ah.
Thank you. All right, bye.
Oh my gosh, I love you both. That's great. Well, I do want to ask you one more thing, Ethan. So this is something I'm always like curious about, just as like an audience member to movies. Was there anything specific that you improvised, like in the movie or something like that?
Other than like movement stuff, like the very like it's like my second scene with Pia, and I had my finger and I'm pushing her on the forehead. That was like an in the moment thing that just happened. Like we didn't plan it before. And because I just like instinctually was like, I want to control her
Mhm.
and show my power. And I didn't think of it until literally the moment it happened.
I love that.
That goes back to like following your instinct and trusting your impulse. So I just like I remember in the middle of that scene, I had the instinct just to like, I want to show my power, but I barely have to do anything to show her my power. So I was like, I'm just gonna push her with one finger, and like, and that's one of my favorite parts of the entire movie, because it just shows um, this power. So yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind about anything that was like improv related.
Chrissy, what you got?
So this one's for Jose. What was
Okay.
removed from the final cut of the movie as a director? What did you feel wasn't totally with the movie and you were like, I could take this out?
Nothing, because I mean, I don't want to do math right now. My wife's a math teacher, but eight times 7 or whatever, we didn't have
56.
a lot of. Hey, there you go. So we had about 56 hours of movie, and that was including different angles and things like that. So we didn't like. For improving, that's my favorite thing to do. Let's riff. Let's have some time, and let's add. And we did add a couple of comedic lines here and there, just because we were having fun. And I go, we have time for it. If the producers want to cut it, they can cut it. But I think let's just have fun with it. Luckily, they stayed. But we didn't have a lot of fluff. We shot the entire script, and we didn't really have time to play with things. So, and it's surprising there's not that many bloopers, because I mean, the good thing is these are incredible actors who knew that this wasn't time to fool around, and they brought their A+ game. So nothing was really cut from the movie. We put everything in it. On Exorcist, the last one, we did have to cut something, but it didn't affect the runtime, which was good. But everything we shot is in the movie.
Love it.
Which is a testament to how good the cast was, and I wish we could have cut the third act. I'm not a big fan of the third act, but we'll talk about that later. But that was not my and I've been very open about this. That was a studio note, and not one that I was a fan of. But whatever. You do what you can with what you're given.
Yeah. I want to ask this. I think Chrissy and I are both interested. So before we get into like some deep dives about the both of you as people, you've both mentioned like obstacles and things that have had the way Ethan smiled. You both have mentioned obstacles. Are you allowed to share anything or like touch on it or give us the?
I'll tell you the whole damn thing. Yeah. No NDAs. Which they probably should get on that, but whatever, it's fine. So here's what happened. Day one, we had contract issues. They wouldn't let me shoot with Ethan until he had him and his management team had signed off on something, and so they were having issues communicating with that. Then I think more than half the crew hadn't finished filling out their paperwork, which is, I mean, I guess it's a thing, but it's not a big deal. But for some reason, they were extra careful in this production, and so they shut us down until everybody filled out this paperwork. So we lost about a good 2-3 hours just waiting for people to fill out paperwork. And that was supposed to be our easy day, because that was our 10-page day. And 10 pages is insane. Most movies shoot 1 or 2 pages a day. On a big budget thing. I mean, we had 30-page days on this thing. Just to get it done. Yeah. So that was day one. Day two, there was we had to move into a new location. When we got there, it wasn't open yet, so we had to wait for the guy to come in and unlock it. So we lost about 30 to 45 minutes trying to get into the place. Then we had to light multiple locations. That was Dracula's lair, the prison cell, and that was tricky on its own. And we didn't finish on time because we had to do our Boris, our Frankenstein's monster. That was a good 2.5 hours of makeup that we can't shoot with Boris yet. And luckily, Dracula's easy, and so was his daughter Elisabetta. They were easy makeup, so that we can shoot them out. But we had camera issues, we had lighting issues. Just the typical stuff that happens. That was probably our easiest day, but we didn't finish on time, and we didn't get everything on our schedule. So we said, "All right, let's roll it over into day 3." Day 3 dawns. I'll let Ethan take over for day 3. What happened day 3,
Oh my
Ethan?
gosh!
Oh no.
Yeah. So day 3. Day 3. So I woke up feeling incredibly sick.
Oh
And
no.
so I texted OJ, or no, I texted Jose.
OJ.
And OJ.
And
Yeah,
how did you get those contact details?
Clearly. Jose, not OJ. I texted Jose.
From your Ford Bronco.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I texted Jose and our producer, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm feeling really sick. Maybe it's like the flu or something like that. I'm still gonna come in, but I need a test to make sure it's not COVID, right?
Mhm.
Because if it's COVID, I can't shoot. Like if it was the flu, they allow it. If it was a cold, like they'll allow it. But if it's COVID, you cannot shoot. So I drive.
Guess what it was?
And guess what it was?
Was it the
No. No.
It was the vid. I got the plague. So I wasn't allowed on set because I had COVID. So, and they had to finish, and because of tax purposes, they had to finish filming the movie before the end of the year. So they couldn't postpone. So on the third day, I went home and they continued shooting. They found a body double. They continued shooting the rest of the movie and with a body double. And then at a later date, like 2 or 3 weeks later, we shot 95% of my scenes by myself with no one else there really. I
couldn't tell.
I literally had the script in my hand and I was literally going like this. I would say my line, look at the script, say my line.
It wasn't that bad. No, you were good. You knew the scene. You weren't that bad.
But believe it or not, I think I have like maybe like 35, 40 scenes. Only like 8 of them have people actually in the room with me. The other actors are actually there. I never met Michael Madsen. I never like I literally never met the guy I'm supposed to be fighting. Like
Right.
I've never met him. So like I'd be curious to see. Like, I think it'd be a really fun drinking game. It's like, okay, which scene is their actual?
Oh my God.
Like,
Yes.
like that. Like for example, that the tavern, the very first tavern scene with the
Mhm.
light over my eyes. Like Bix, the actress that plays Mila, she's not there. I was actually reading with Jose's daughter, who was behind. She had the script. She was reading the lines for me. And yeah, like I think the only scenes that I was actually there with the other actors was like the booby trap hallway scenes,
Mhm.
and then like the stuff in my lair. Obviously, when I'm physically touching another actor, obviously that person's there. And then I think like the mummy scenes, and then the corpse in the when the corpse comes up, the undead.
Yeah.
Only those scenes were filmed with like the actual people there. And so it was like a crazy way to work because like I have usually you're working off like other actors, you discover.
Yeah.
But I think in a way it kind of like because it kind of shaped the character in a way that he's more secluded, more of like a isolated, and I was like, it works for loner. That kind of works for the character that he's like in these lone shots. So in a way, I guess it was a blessing in disguise. In the moment, I'm sure it was really stressful for OJ. Oh my God,
OJ.
I did it.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
Do you have anything you need to confess to us on this?
No.
He hasn't had his coffee yet.
Jose. I know, I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm like,
no. Okay, we'll attest it to that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that. Jose.
I'm gonna go on a VPN so you can't trace me.
Yeah.
When I get excited about things, I've worked with Jose twice already, and I'm calling him the wrong name, and I'm awful with
twice, and that's it. Twice, that's it. Twice and done. Just for that. That's good, Derek.
3.
Not only
Derek, that's fine. Just
oh
don't
my
God.
Yeah. So when Derek got COVID, it was it was a seismic event. I mean, this was like the movies. I mean, he's the main actor. He's in almost every scene. So it was it was a seismic event. Like, we need to shut down. I don't know how I'm gonna make this movie. This movie's not gonna make any sense. And of course, you're the director. The downside is you're the captain of the ship. the ship is going down. You have to find a way to keep it afloat. So all eyes were on me, like, okay, how are we going to fix this? I wanted to take the story in a different direction, where we kill Dracula off early. Spoilers, but I'm not going to give too much away. And then his daughter escapes, and she sort of becomes the lead. But development wouldn't let me make those big sweeping changes, which sucks, because then we had to stick to the script, and we got this great guy Garrett to be the body double. But of course, it's when you're doing a wide shot, the Dracula is not Dracula, so you have to kind of make sure his back is to the camera. There's all these like things that make it feel inorganic, and a big thing for me is I like things to feel genuine and natural, and we couldn't. We had to be tricky. So that was the worst day on set, day 3, when I was like, I don't know what I'm shooting here. We had 2 different body doubles that day because it happened that day. I had one guy sort of stand in for some of the pub scenes, but he had long hair, so we couldn't shoot him from the back. So my second AD had to stand in because he had sort of more of the Dracula hair, but he had a big beard, so he had to like dry shave his face without lotion or anything, and, like really quickly, because we didn't want to do. We couldn't see it, so he was like, I got it. And he came through for us, and so he's in a couple of the shots too, just to make it work. Yeah, it was painful, and he definitely took one for the team. But it was a disaster. Like, I felt like this is this sucks. This doesn't feel like the movie is gonna go the way we all wanted it to. And then from then on, it was just sort of a series of situations where we have to find a way to get Dracula out or away from everybody. So a lot of the framing, if you go back and watch it, a lot of the framing, you see Dracula is either by himself or off to the side. But day 4 was our only day outside. We were shooting exterior stuff for the finale and Wolfman's Cabin, and it was dry the entire week, no rain. That day, torrential downpour. We had mud slides. There was like this weird haze that kind of worked for the look, but didn't. It was shit for our equipment. One of my makeup people slipped and cracked his head open. He was okay, but and what sucks was I didn't know about it till the day after, and he was alone. He was one of the last people off, and Jake, I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing that, but he cracked his head open. And he was alone, so he drove himself to the emergency room, and he was. But I'm like, what the God? It just felt like the universe was against us. That was hard. And that was the day when I'm like, I honestly just want to, like, I'll be honest. I felt like I want to quit because I don't think we're getting it right. I don't think we're getting it right, but the actors were there, and they were all still pulling for it. The studio was just like, keep shooting. They don't really, at the end of the day, I don't think it's not fair to say they don't care, but it was more about this has to get done. And they wouldn't let me come back and shoot this day. So I'm like, all right, we'll do what we can. So that's why I'm not a big fan of the ending either, because there's stuff that has to happen during that day. Like, all right, this is the only thing we can do to work around this issue. Day 5 and 6 were a little more controlled. We were back at sort of the Asylum studio. We were working with Michael Madsen. But again, it was an issue of running out of time. We were dealing with VFX, which took up a lot of time. You would think it'd be easy. All right, just the VFX guys can just paint that out and put a guy there. But no, okay, the camera has to be locked down. Nobody move. Nobody shake the camera. Okay, actors do this. Make sure you copy this action. And it was just like we're making a Marvel movie, but we got 1 hour to shoot it. It was really hard. And then, of course, the last day, we were all beaten down. I mean, it felt like we were in Vietnam. Like, I mean, not to, I'm not saying it was that bad, but it felt like we were all like war veterans, and we were just trauma bonding. And it was the last day, and we barely had time for the Invisible Man's abduction scene, and we had okay, you guys got an hour and a half to shoot this. An hour and a half. It's not even lit yet. Like, how are we gonna block it? The thing they gave me was 3 walls. This isn't a house. This is so. It was so stressful. to the point where I just needed a big break from movies afterwards. And then, of course, after Christmas and the New Year, we brought Ethan back for day 7, which was basically close-ups. We had some of the monsters back in because I wanted to at least have them in some of the shots so it didn't feel so weird. But it was mostly him. And I mean, Ethan's in like he said, he was my first call when I first got the thing. You're Dracula. That's it. It's happening. And so I knew he could handle being on his own, but the production nearly made me hate making movies. But I think everyone has that, I guess, experience. It's just like it didn't have to be that way, but because of elements, this was the hardest movie I've ever shot, and one that I would not like to replicate these scenarios again. They're very hard.
Oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely intense.
Mhm.
Like literally, I mean, my ADHD couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't. We literally call ourselves, like, Chrissy and I were like the ADHD besties, and I'm like the way that I couldn't. I know we're also not necessarily on a time crunch, but I do want to respect everyone's like limits that we've mentioned. Are you both cool if we go into some deep dives about your lives and how you got here?
Sure.
Cool. Awesome. Well, and Chrissy, if you want to, we can just kind of like
that's fine.
pick and choose back and forth, all that stuff.
Hey fam, Newman here from Movies for Days, your non-pretentious easy access movie chat podcast and weekly deep dive into any film from any genre, from any decade, with anybody's guess as to how we chose that movie that week. Proud member of the You Run Podcast Network. Check us out where all great podcasts can be heard, and on Twitter at Movies Days. Movies is spelled regular, Days is spelled with a Z.
There's nothing better than hanging out with your best friends chatting horror movies. At Voices from the Mausoleum, we have programming that covers everything from found footage to gaming, interviews, and even the first horror morning talk show. Come join us. We're all friends at the Mausoleum.
Jose, since we have you,
Yep.
so you're very vested into the horror genre, and you've obviously got a variety of credits dating back to the early 2000s. What is it about horror that you enjoy so much, and what do you think sets it apart from other genres?
You could do so much with horror. I mean, a comedy is a comedy, and you can argue that there's room for humor. Like, oh, what's funny to some people is not funny to other people. So comedy is probably the closest thing to what horror can offer. But like drama, there's only so much you can do.
Mhm.
Action, there's only so much you can do. But horror can be anything. It could be a character study. It could be a really gory, violent movie with feces and whatever. There's these, which I'm not a fan of, but there's these, there's these
That's
giant
what Monster Mash
metrics.
2 is about. It's
That's what. Part 2.
Fight
Feces monster.
Feces
go.
Monster. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Let me know when I can get the smart friend started on that.
Yes, I will. But horror is such a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And again, not one thing may not be scary to somebody, but scary to somebody else. But I think generally, you show somebody a dark hallway, and then some weird fucking creature pops out. No one's gonna go meh. But what the fuck? There's that visceral reaction. I think whereas my wife makes me watch romantic comedies, and I'm like, all right, they're gonna hate each other, and then they're gonna fall in love. The end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you've seen Hallmark. Got it.
Yeah. There's a formula to that, and to me, I think horror just gives, and I think that's why audiences really love it, and that's why those movies do very well. I mean, obviously, there's good and bad, with everything, but horror is, it's such a blank canvas. You can do anything. You can really dream in a horror movie. You can really let your imagination loose, and if you're a very warped individual like a Cronenberg or a Guillermo del Toro, then you can really show the world something unique. And I think there's no other genre that can allow you to really dream on that level.
That's awesome. I mean, I might be biased, but I do think it is the best genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chrissy, what say you?
Absolutely. I love horror.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's curious about getting into or getting started as like a writer or a director, what would be your favorite piece of advice to give?
Just know that you're not going to make a lot of money. If you're lucky, you may, but this isn't you know it in your bones that this is something you want to do. This isn't something that you go in thinking, I'm going to give it a try and maybe I'll become Steven Spielberg or whatever, or Tom Cruise. No, those guys worked very, very hard to get to where they were, and they had a lot of it is luck. They had a lot of lucky breaks and a lot of lucky roles, and they were seen by the right people, or their script was read by the right people, and it's just kind of, I hate to say it was meant to be, but I do kind of believe in destiny. I think I was destined to meet Ethan, and we've become fast friends. He's honestly my favorite actor I've ever worked with. I've told him this. I write in a very specific way, and I see my characters in a very specific way. And in the audition for Headless Horseman, he was the only person in the audition who read the lines exactly how I heard them. And I'm like, this is the guy, 100%. This is the guy. And so, we connected on that level, kindred spirits. So I do believe, especially artistic destinies. It's a tough business. But if you're a writer, write. Enter screenplay contests. Those do help sometimes. Sometimes they're just whatever, empty accolades, but it's nice to be read and get out there, and you never know who's going to read it that might send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
If you want to make movies, now it's very easy. You just take out your phone and film, make sure film on YouTube. Yeah. Start a YouTube channel with shorts. So the guys who did Talk to Me, they were YouTubers. So it's right now it's a weird world where the sky's the limit, but there's a lot of hurdles as well, because there is so much content out there that to be able to be noticed or be seen, among the I don't want to call it noise, but it's just the crowd, I guess, of movies coming to VOD, for example, is tough, and you do kind of need a little luck to sort of be discovered. But it in your bones that you want to do it. And don't let anybody say no, and just keep at it until you feel like, okay, I'm done, or you're satisfied enough, or they put you in your grave. But
oh my gosh,
never retire, never give up, because I think your soul will probably never let you do that. So that's my advice. You know it if you know it.
That's beautiful advice. I do want to ask you a question about your characters that you've worked with in your movies. So a bit of a battle round. In your screenplays, you've written about La Llorona, which we have an ongoing joke on this podcast about La Llorona. Anytime Chrissy says something off kilter, I literally tell her, shut up, or I'm sending La Llorona to your house.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
I actually get that weekly. So
no, she gets that, and that was today. So, okay, you've written about La Llorona, a horror hostess, and Hansel and Gretel. If your versions of Hansel and Gretel teamed up to fight your versions of La Llorona and the horror hostess, which group would win and why?
Oh man. Obviously I think gosh, I hate to say that, but oh god, that's hard, dude.
it's like making your favorite children fight against each other, Nino. How dare you?
Yeah.
I only have one
hard.
kid, and it's my black cat. Like my biological son. I birthed him.
Wow. I want to hear more about that on another stream.
Yeah, we'll talk. And on top of that, his name's Binks. So.
Oh, I love it.
I think you have your next movie idea, Jose.
There you go. Nino's cat son. There you go.
Gretel.
I heard if we do make this movie, it's gonna be perfect.
You know what? I'm gonna say Hansel and Gretel would win because Hansel becomes a witch hunter, so I think he would probably find a way to take out La Llorona, and the horror hostess is a good guy, so I don't think she'd put up much of a fight. Beyond her looks, I think she's just I think she'd probably be on the side of Hansel and Gretel, so Hansel and Gretel would win.
I love it. Okay. I'll take it. That's beautiful.
Okay, so being a family man, what do you think? What do your children think of your crafts, and have they contributed any ideas to some of your creations?
Like myself, growing up watching, whatever, I sort of followed that. My wife is like, well, don't show them too many, crazy things. We're like, no, it's all right. They'll be fine. And they have been, we're big horror fans. We have a horror movie club where we go out, to the movies to see all the new horror movies, and like we discuss it. And my kids have become very critical. They're like little Siskel and Eberts about that. Well, I didn't like the pacing here, and like, why did this character say this if it didn't pay off? So and they all want to be filmmakers, and my daughter wants to be an actor, and my son wants to be a writer and a director. So movies in general are a big part of my life, and they love it, and they want to be a part of it as well. In terms of ideas, there are a couple of times, well, like if I have, trouble coming up with figuring out some plot point, like if I get a studio note and they're like, oh gosh, okay, so they want this to happen at page 20, but logically it should be page 40. So how do I move these events? Like I had that with Headless Horseman, where like they wanted the movie to begin immediately, but it felt like I needed time to kind of get to know everybody. But so I'll toss it out to the peanut gallery, my wife and my kids, and I'm like, so they want this to happen, this and this. What do you guys think? And then they'll be like, well, you could do this, you could do that. So and I'll take little nuggets like, oh, that's good. I didn't think of that. So absolutely, and I think it's good. I think for any creative to have someone to bounce ideas off of, because then you're not sort of writing in a vacuum and like, oh, it's cool to me, but then when somebody else reads it, like, dude, this is dumb as shit. So they're and my wife is my last line of defense. When I finish reading, she's the first person that reads anything, and she's not a big action fan, so she'll kind of just zone out for action stuff. But she's very good about character and dialogue, and all that stuff. So she's the last sieve before anybody reads it. So yeah, family absolutely important to all that part.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for just kind of letting us in on how they're involved, and that's incredible. Like, I love it.
Sure.
I wanna ask you, what can you share about any upcoming projects that you're involved with? Did you sign NDAs, and can you tell me?
No, I don't have NDAs. But this is such a crazy business. Obviously, and I talk to my monster gang, almost every day. We have plans for a part 2 and a 3. And it may be something that's happening this year, but I don't know. Again, it could be a thumbs up, today, and then tomorrow I'll be like, sorry guys, it's done. It's such a up and down business, you can't really predict, but we do want to make at least 3. My Exorcist movie is supposed to be getting a part 2 and 3 as well, thanks to Blumhouse, because they're making 2 others as well. So we're gonna be we're gonna be, I'm not working with Blumhouse, but because of their Exorcist movies, the Asylum says, okay, you can make yours. So so that will hopefully be happening in the near future. And then I have a killer doll movie that I'm dying to make, because it's got it's very twisty, and I'm a big Chucky guy. I got Chuckies everywhere. And so I wanted to approach it in a way that's never been done before. And I think if I get to make it, I think it's gonna be a real treat for killer doll fans for one specific reason, but I can't say what it is yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I've got a script that I love that Ethan's attached to. called Devil in the Details. It's Heat meets Hellraiser. So it's kind of a action horror hybrid. And as of yesterday, we just got a line producer attached and casting. And it's moving forward, and it's pretty exciting. And that's the one I kind of want to really put a lot more effort on, because it'll be sort of our bigger budget movie, and it's pretty wild. It's not the typical horror movie, and hopefully we get to make it sometime
I
soon.
love
So
it. It's a hell of a read. I love it.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm excited.
We did a reading of it like a few weeks ago, and everyone was like, "This is fun. This is a cool film." So, yeah, it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, I wanted to make the Pulp Fiction of horror movies, so hopefully we can pull that off.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh, I'm so excited for this.
I hope you dig it when it comes out. You guys should come down and have cameos. I'll let you know when it's happening.
That
I
would be
mean,
cool. I'm down.
One thing about me, I will fly there. Broom, plane, carpet, teleportation. I'll have La Llorona herself give me a ride. Like,
Nice. I love it. And then
we
open
like,
invitation.
have too much fun on here. I'm so sorry.
No, that's great. I love it.
Okay. To kind of keep with time, so our final question to you, Jose, is that we both love Scream and Ghostface. And Nino, do you want to ask?
Jose, apart from the fact that we're both going to be a part of the Cabin in the Woods Horror Film Festival.
Oh, yeah.
I have to ask you, what's your favorite scary movie?
Okay, I have a tie. It's hard, but I mean, I don't know if I can see. I think I put the blur filter on, but it's on my. I don't know if you can see it.
What is that?
But
Is that Scream?
It's I don't know.
Nope.
It's Scream. Yeah.
It's on my phone. It's absolutely my favorite slasher movie of all time. But it's between Scream and Jaws. Jaws because I saw it at an early age, and I fucking hate beaches. So it's so hard.
Okay. I mean,
it's a tie. It's a tie. Scream and Jaws.
Okay. I don't know if y'all could see, but wait, hold on. I have to figure out right here. That's the Scream 5 poster.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't see, but literally off to where my movie collection is, there is a nice ghost face mask staring at me. So I am with you. My husband got me a replica of the Buck 120 hunting knife that Ghostface uses.
Oh my God.
Nice.
It works. I only know this because it's cut through like fruit.
Oh,
and,
okay.
That's what
Sure.
it's cut through.
Cheese and stuff, and like not because I'm like, yeah.
I love
Anyway.
it. We should get together and do like a Scream retrospective. I mean, unless you guys have done it.
Oh
like,
my
when
gosh,
Scream 7 comes
absolutely.
out, let's do it.
We love all things killer, OJ. I mean, Jose. We love all things.
Yeah, I'm just gonna change my name to OJ now.
No, it's great. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, we want to just for time also, Ethan. We'd like to bring you into this and do a little deep dive on you. Chill, cool.
He changed it to OJ. I'm sorry.
Did you change it?
No, I didn't. I don't think I changed it. I think it's natural.
No, I did.
Oh my gosh.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, you had shared earlier that you were on the set of Dennis the Menace with your dad, and like, how does that childlike wonder of acting back then play a part into who you are as an actor today?
Oh, I think I probably talk about this on every set that I am on. I'm always like, every time I'm on a set, it just reminds me of being a kid visiting. Oh, he just changed his name to OJ.
He changed his name to like capital O, capital J, and then just left.
Perfect. I'm never gonna put that down. But I swear that like every time I'm on a set, I always bring this up. I'm like, man, isn't this so fun? It reminds me of being a kid, and just I always am I'm happiest when I'm on set, no matter how tough or how difficult it is. Like I've worked on movies where I'm in the middle of the desert in like 110-degree weather, or like I'm in the mountains and it's like 22 degrees and it's freezing and I have to be wet and like all
Oh,
this
no.
stuff. But I'm like always, even though like physically I might be miserable, I'm still so content and happy. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of childlike wonder is always with me. And like movies played a huge influential role in my life when I was a kid growing up. So it's so always so wild to me that now that I'm doing it and I get to see myself doing these things I never would do, like
Yeah.
I see myself like in Headless Horseman. I got stabbed in the chest with like a blade hand and then electrocuted, and then with Monster Mash, I was a bat and I turn into a human, or like all these like kind of crazy things. It's like you only imagine, like you get to see yourself doing that, which is like it's always kind of an out of body experience. Seeing like whenever I'm watching myself, sometimes I'm like I forget that that's me, and I go, oh, that is it's so strange and like kind of like it like short circuits my brain sometimes, and but
Oh my,
I love it. I mean, I'm always again happiest whenever I'm making a movie or something like that.
that's
That is
beautiful.
awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So, of all the stories that you've told and the characters you've portrayed, which story and which character stands out the most to you?
Well, I mean, obviously, like I think Monster Mash, like doing Dracula, uh, was incredible for me artistically because that's the kind of shit I like to make. Like I
Yeah.
like those kind of characters that are
Yeah.
just I love doing character work. But most recently, I've been working on a film for a while now. It's called Death and Life.
Mhm.
I've been attached to the film for about 3 years now. We just wrapped principal photography like 2 months ago or something like that, and we're in the editing process. But that particular role has been so important and influential to me. I play Death.
Mhm.
It's a kind of like a, how do I explain the movie? It's like a rom-com like drama, but with like horror elements and facade on it. So think of it like a mixture of um like Shape of Water mixed with Princess Bride, you know, like because it has this like kind of this it has these horror elements. Obviously, I'm
Yeah.
playing death. It takes place in purgatory, and it
Mhm.
has like this beautiful look to it, and it seems on the surface very scary, but then to its core, it's actually like a movie about accepting death and like its influence it has on our lives, and it gives life meaning. The fact that
Mm.
ends, it has meaning, and it has like funny elements and these like kind of heartwarming and touching moments in your life. It subverts your expectations. Like that's what I really love about the movie. Um, but yeah, we're in the editing process right now, and things are moving along,
Okay.
and um, and I'm really excited about that one. I again, like I play death. I'm escorting souls through the afterlife. It takes place in purgatory. Something happens where I lose my powers, and this one woman who I was escorting to the afterlife, she wants to move on, so she's
Yeah.
right, and we're kind of at odds. Like my character's a little bit more pompous, hubris, and kind of like Loki, like
Mhm.
very much like that, like very arrogant and kind of like solo kind of
Yeah.
solo act. But then he's forced to work with this woman who is like sassy, spunky, cheeky. She's like has full of life, even though she's a corpse. She's like a literal corpse, but she's full of life, and, she's ready to move on to the afterlife. And we have to work together in order to get my powers back, so that I can take her to the afterlife. Um, and through our adventures through purgatory, we fall in love. And at the end of the movie, I have to decide either to move on into the afterlife with her or to stay as death in purgatory. Um,
Whoa.
So that movie has been like a major part of my life for the last 3 years. We shot for 9 months, on and off because of like weather, because we were shooting in the desert, we shot in the mountains, we shot, by the beach, we shot in warehouses and whatnot. And it just took a long time to get the movie done, to shoot the movie. But that's a role that like I had a lot of time with, and it's very personal to me, and like, so I'm really excited about that one.
That's
That's
so
amazing.
And it's
awesome.
like I don't know if we can give this away, but it's like Shape of Water because you have a fish stick, right? That's like revealed.
Yeah,
halfway
yeah.
through.
I'm
It goes
actually
like
like
that, and it comes out.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So there you go. So also for the fish stick
I
fans.
can't.
you
For the fish stick.
Wait, okay. I don't know if it's just like the fact that I have tinnitus this early in the morning. Are you saying fish stick or fish?
What do you think? Why would he have fish sticks? It's a penis, a fish penis.
Okay, there we go. Listen, because when you say fish dick, it kind of, I'm like, I don't know if you
Fish.
stuttered.
Yeah,
it
it's
was
pretty
my God.
cool.
fishy.
So look forward to that. That
Oh,
reveal
I'm
Death
so
has a.
excited.
And on this film, you're working on both sides of the camera, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was originally cast as the lead, and then it was an extremely low budget movie,
Mm-hmm.
extremely low budget, and so I wasn't gonna be making like any money doing it. But I read the script and I was like, I have to do this movie. It's like one of those things where I was like, I read the script and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like say no to this. I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like knowing how important this movie could be and how much I really wanted to do it, I was like, guys, we have to do this right. We have to we need more money to pull this off. So I jumped on as a producer to try and help and gather more money. And then the reason it took, I was cast 3 years ago, but we didn't start shooting until June of last year, so almost a year ago.
Whoa.
Because over the it took 2 years of trying to raise more money and bring things together. So we were able to raise some more money and pulled a lot of favors. I think I used up most of my favors on this, and hope, and if and when it pays off, then I'll be able to be like, all right, maybe I'll get my my coupons back for more if it pays off.
That's hilarious.
I think it will. But yeah, and then I jumped on as a producer to try and help out in any way that I can. So whatever that may be, which is finding more money, or it's oh, you just need an extra body on set. Let me try and figure things out. I cast a few people. I brought on a few crew members. So I'm like, hey guys, so, and the thing is most of because we were traveling and shooting on location, I would say most of the budget, 80 to 90% of the budget, was towards travel, lodging, and hiring these crew members and stuff like that. Because we traveled all around to shoot this movie, because we had to shoot in these locations. But these locations make the movie, even though the budget was maybe $250,000 to $300,000 or something like that, it looks like a multi-million-dollar movie, because these locations that we shot at were incredible. It just mind-blowing. So it's so I'm really excited about that. But it was my first time being a producer on a film, and I'm looking to do more of that, because in this industry, we've talked about it, it's hard to be a consistent kind of working filmmaker. So I figured, I was like, I want to be a producer, because then I can make my own stuff, make stuff that I'm proud of, and also make work for myself, make work for my friends. So that's kind of always been my dream, is I want to be able to, again, going back to I'm always happiest when I'm on set, because I feel like a kid when I'm on set. I just want to do that all the time. I just want to be on set every week for the rest of my life. I just want to be making something. I don't care about making lots of money or anything like that. As long as I'm able to sustain myself
Mhm.
and be able to create and make these movies, I will be happy. Like, I don't care. As long as I'm making something, I'm happy. So I see this as like a path to being able to
Yeah.
do that.
That's so awesome.
That's brilliant.
right.
Oh my God. Not me like crying.
Like, you probably resonated with that because like we all go
Yeah.
through this, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
we all, you know, we all go through a lot of shit, you know.
Yes.
We go through a lot being in this industry, and the more you can do to help your friends, help yourself, help your friends, help, you know, the people, your tribe, you know, that's
Yeah.
really important. And yeah, so you gotta make, like, you know, burn your own path, you know, or however the saying goes. I don't know. But
Yeah.
forge your own path.
Forge
There you
your, there we go. I mean, burn your own path works because that's what
Burn-
forging is.
Well, burning kind of implies that you're screwing people over.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, cook your own path didn't also work in my
Cook.
head. So
No.
it's 11:13. I'm hungry, but I want to ask you this because I've always been curious about, like, I'm a big fan of like timeline of things. For some reason, I think like the essence of time is something that's so important to me. Can you talk to us about like the process or timeline from auditioning to booking to getting the script to getting on set, and which phase has taught you the most about your craft as an actor?
Well, I mean, a lot of people say the job of an actor is not working the gig, it's auditioning.
It's auditioning.
I spend more time auditioning than being on set. I I have really great representation, and they help me get a lot of auditions. A lot of the timeline it's different. It depends on the it depends on the project. It depends like on a lot of factors. Like, I've worked on things where I audition
Yeah.
and I book it and I shoot it and I'm done within like 2 or 3 weeks. It's just like that quick. And then there's been times where with like Death and Life, I auditioned in like 3 years ago. So it's like 2021. I booked it in October of 2021, but we didn't start shooting until June of last year. You
Oh
know,
my
and
gosh.
so like movie making, there's no clear cut way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's no rules. It's just like there's no step by step. It's just kind of like it's really just problem solving, and something that I've kind of learned from that process. It took me a while to learn that. Like, as a young actor, I was always like, I took everything so personal. I took everything so like, oh, I didn't get that, I must suck. Like, like I was very hard on myself. But recently I watched. Have you guys ever heard of Actors Roundtable? Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
bunch. There's this one specific Actors Roundtable that I watch that I always go back to. It has like Chadwick Boseman, Bryan Cranston, a bunch of like juggernauts of the industry, right? And they all talk about how the feeling of you're never going to work again, or not having control over your performance because the editor might pick
The
the
worst cut.
Mhm.
Yeah.
big. And like, but something about how that feeling never goes away, even these juggernauts of the industry, like, was actually kind of comforting to me. I was like, oh, that's a feeling that we all feel. That we all feel like either we're not good enough, or we're never going to work again, or God, I look awful in that take. That's you know what I mean? Like, that's something that we all in the industry deal with and struggle with. And I actually found a lot of comfort in that. And when I learned that, I was able to be like, oh, I can just let go. I'm going to
Yeah.
do what my job is. I'm going to like show up. I'll know my lines. I'll do my prep work and I'll do my thing. But then after that, it's done. Like, I'm not like, and I say this to Jose all the time. Like, I always go, hey, if you're happy, I'm happy, because I'm never happy with my performances. I'm never
Really?
I always am like, that sucks, but hey, like, but I choose to believe people when they tell me that like something was good. Like I just go, I know that I have my own personal bias,
Mhm.
and I know that this is a feeling that's never going to go away. I'm never going to really be like stoked or super happy about my performance. But when people tell me that a performance is good, or when like, because Jose, like, if a take was not good, we would just do it again. Like if he wasn't happy, we would just do it again.
Yeah.
So I kind of just take that and be like, okay, like I just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
It's not really about me. It's not
Mhm.
about the actor, really, because filmmaking specifically, there's so many elements that go into it. Like there's, the director, the producers, the lighting, the sound, the camera work. It's a lot of the times you just got to stand there and say your line, like hit your mark, say your line. And like, it kind of is relieving to me in a way, where it's like, okay, so it's not this huge burden on me, even though I'm the lead of this movie. It's not a huge burden on me. It's a kind of a team thing, and it's not about you. And so yeah, like that's something that I've kind of taken away. Maybe I've gotten a little off topic, but
No, this is great.
yeah, like
Mhm.
that's something that I think is that every actor, every filmmaker needs to learn, that it's not about you. And uh, it is like a team experience. A movie is the product of sometimes hundreds of people working together,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really, that's one thing that I always try to tell my other acting or filmmaking friends that are either new. That's usually one of the first things I tell people. I'm like, it's not about you. Just know your lines, do your work. I actually learned this from, sorry, I'm kind of rambling because I love talking about the subject, but
This is great.
Michael Caine has a book called Blowing the Bloody Doors Off. And he has a whole chapter talking about this, about how it's not about you. And he goes, you just need to know your lines. Just know your lines, and that's that. Hit your mark, say your line, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And he has a whole chapter about that really resonated with me. But yeah, that's something that that's the advice I pass on. Learn from the people that do it. Learn
Yeah.
from the greats. They all feel this way. We all go through this. So, like watch the people that have success and emulate what they do, and the way that they carry themselves. So, yeah.
I love that.
It's funny because on the reverse of that, as a director, the first thing I tell my actors is, you are the movie. You are the movie. No one's going to see me, struggling behind the scenes, trying to figure out how to make it all connect. No one's going to realize, oh, wait, sorry, man, take it again because we saw the boom shadow, or, oh, sorry, there was a weird thing with the light. Hold on, we're going to make a tweak. Sorry, it wasn't you with the light.
Mhm.
No one's going to know any of that. They're going to know, Ethan's cheekbones. They're gonna laugh at the joke that the mummy said. So for me, it's all about the actor. It's all about what's on screen. So I have a little TV off camera. That's what I look at, and I'm watching my movie, and I'm the first audience. And I like to inspect every corner. Go, okay, this looks really good. This look fucking badass. This is great. So they are the movie, and I don't want to put that stress on them, but I want them to know that. I want them to know how important I think the acting process is, and how important. Like, look, we love Scream because of the characters, because of the actors, and we don't know. Oh, did you know that Wes Craven had diarrhea on that day? No, I didn't.
I'm so.
But you know what I mean. But
Whoa.
Did you know he shit himself? Like,
it doesn't matter because we're looking at Sidney Prescott. We're looking at Dewey. That's
Mhm.
the movie. At the end of the day, 20 years from now, it'll still be Ethan's cheekbones. It won't be, oh, remember he got
I'm
COVID?
done.
What day was that? You know what I mean? So
Totally,
I
Ethan's
I
cheekbone.
love actors, and I'm there with Ethan in terms of like my favorite part of making a movie is being on set. Because well, I'm not social by nature, so it allows me to be social. It's nice when you're the captain because then people have to talk to you. But
OJ.
you know, and then you know, writing is very lonely, and post is very lonely. Even though you have more people doing post, but making the movie is my favorite part. It sucks that was our shortest amount of time. Making the movie was actually putting it in the can. But I love actors, and I think they are the number one ingredient to making a movie mean anything. And go ahead, continue talking to Ethan. I'm done.
All right.
I'm just glad that my cheekbones have been carrying my performances.
It's honestly, listen, it's more than just your cheekbones.
It is.
Thank
Okay,
God.
it's your glass skin. And just for anyone who's like listening to this, when Chrissy and I watched Monster Mash,
Oh man.
we literally texted each other. We were like, this Dracula has cheekbones that could have saved the Titanic. You could have kept, and honestly, you know how many businesses have closed that you could have kept afloat with your cheekbones?
I know. I really should be doing more.
Gosh.
No,
Okay.
put me in front of the right people. I don't know what's going on.
I apparently don't know who they are. Like,
I just need to walk into Congress and be like, guys,
Right here.
absolutely.
be up there, please.
Or can we, if we could just, okay, House Bill 147, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I want to, wait, on the topic of Monster Mash, Chrissy, I think you had mentioned something about Dracula.
Yes. So Dracula, which is obviously the character you played in Monster Mash, it's such a globally recognized, iconic character. And does it take a while for you to separate from that character once filming wraps up? And are there any remnants of Dracula or any of the previous characters that you've played still with you within present day?
Yeah, I am still sucking people's blood in the middle of the night.
Well, thank God you said blood, because I was like, where's he headed? We mentioned fish dicks earlier, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, I definitely.
This is not that kind of show, Ethan.
I definitely am one of those people that a character does kind of stick around for a little bit, and I have to. I also have to compartmentalize. Like it's sometimes I have to just like only be focusing on one project at a time or like one character at a time, because it does sometimes bleed through. Because whenever I'm working on a character, it is all I think about for the time being. But I will say, I always learn something either about myself or about just life in general whenever I'm playing a character. Like for example, like Dracula, it's kind of like he really, when you break it down, he really is just a father trying to take care of his daughter, you know. And in a way, it's kind of like, maybe it's cliche or something like that, but I feel like you learn, okay, not even Dracula is someone's father. You know what I mean? Like like everyone has their own life and where they come from. And I actually I actually was thinking about that a few weeks ago. I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like even, yeah, Dracula is someone's dad, like that. You know, like and it kind of like you never know where people come from. So you know, like an enemy in your life is someone else's best friend. You know.
Oh, I love that.
Kind of the same, and vice versa. Your best friend is the enemy of someone else's life. So it's always about perspective. Yeah, and then like think about death and life, because we've just been talking about that. Like it's really made me appreciate life a little bit more working on something of that subject matter, like that deals with death. So I always I find that whenever I work on a character, no matter what the character is, no matter how silly or goofy, I always take something away from it. And because I mean that's kind of what acting is like kind of character studying. And you learn a lot about human nature. I think as I've grown in my craft and as I've worked more and more, the more roles I have underneath my belt, I think in general, I become a better human, just a better person. And the thing is, it's crazy, is I mostly play these awful human beings. I mostly play these like dark, twisted, villainous people. Like in Headless Horseman, I was literally like killing people. Like I had no remorse. I was just this evil dude, right? And it's really fun. It's really interesting. Maybe because I get to explore this side of myself or this human nature that I am able to hold up a mirror to it and be like, okay, like, I don't know, maybe I learned something about, because I'm playing these villains. These villains don't think that they're the villains, you know. They think they're the hero of their story, and it kind of opened my eyes to more of people. People are humans, you know. They were all babies at one point. Hitler was a baby at one point, you know. Not that I'm trying to emphasize or empathize with.
No. It's
right?
just he grew up. He was a child that grew up.
He was a child. Like what along his life like led him to do something, like to be that person. You know, he wasn't old. He wasn't born that way. You know, so I feel like I have more empathy now as a person. I always, whenever I meet someone, I always try to see the good in them, or find something that, you know, I like. And I think being an actor has helped me be more empathetic towards people.
That's an excellent way to put it. Thank you for that. I know we are coming up on time, but I have to ask you the same thing I asked OJ, Jose, Fishstick. I don't even know what to call you at this point, Jose.
I don't want to go by Fishstick. That's certainly not
honestly,
a thing.
no. And you know what? You know what? No, we're not gonna do it. But to Ethan, because we are huge horror fans, what's your favorite scary movie?
Gosh, okay. That is literally so hard. I mean, I love Scream.
Great choice.
But I love Scary Movie 2.
Oh yeah.
Wait, the parody?
The parody.
Oh my god, the part where she was like, "Will you shut the fuck up and let me sing?"
Yes, I literally watched Scary Movie 2 like over 100 times. Like
I believe it.
Scary Movie 2?
Yes, Scary Movie 2.
Okay, yeah, it's great. That's
Scary
a
Movie
good one.
2. But honestly, the first thing that came to mind, like that's like really connected to me and my friends, Strangers. The one.
Yes.
Is it The Strangers or just Strangers?
Are you talking about the one with like
It's gonna be
The Strangers is the first one.
The Strangers? Yeah, like when they come in with the masks and everything, and the song "Mama Tried" is playing. For some reason, I thought that was so scary, and now it's kind of been a running joke with me and my friends. Occasionally, we'll turn off all the lights in the house. If I have friends coming over, I'll leave the front door open and I'll blast that song throughout the house, like the "Mama Tried" song. And they go, like I've done that like on numerous occasions to my friends.
Oh my god.
Because we think it's like so scary and so funny.
Yeah.
But in terms of like modern scary, I mean, it's a scary TV show, but you know, The Haunting on Hill House.
Yes.
That show, I literally did not sleep for weeks because of the bent neck lady. I literally could not.
I stopped watching that show. I'm sorry, it got too much for me.
It was so scary. Well, actually, finishing it all the way through like relieves a little bit of the.
Okay.
I almost stopped watching too because I literally was so scared. But there's something that's something that's really interesting about scary movies, and because we talked about the horror genre, and I always love movies in general because they make you feel something. But it is mind-boggling to me and mind-blowing that a scary movie can make you fear for your life, like you're watching over your shoulder, and you know that this movie is pretend. This movie is not real, but it makes you feel these feelings. I think that is so cool. Like it makes you like your heart race. It makes you have anxiety or like
Oh my
this
God.
like this thing, and not being able to sleep for weeks because of a movie, a made up like story. And it that's why I love about the horror genre.
Yeah.
It can really stick with you like for weeks, you know. I really love that. Yeah.
I think it's funny. It's funny that you mention your one of your favorite movies being The Strangers, and then you talk about made up horror movies. When the opening shot, the title card for The Strangers was, "This is loosely based on a true story."
Oh, I know. Some scary. Well, those are sometimes the scariest. The ones that are like based on true stories, like The Hills Have Eyes.
No, they don't.
I couldn't finish that movie.
The
literally
remake was so worse than the original because I could handle the original. When they did that remake, I left after 10 minutes. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
This is went too far.
I think that's the only scary movie I have not watched all the way through. Because me and my friends, every weekend, we would go to the Video Depot and we picked out The Hills Have Eyes, and we all collectively were like, we're gonna stop watching this. This is no longer fun because this is awful. Like, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's awful in the way of the content that was in it. And we were like this is too much for us, too scary, too like. And we were like 13 at the time. And we're like, okay, it's time to wrap it up. And I still, to this day, have not seen that movie all the way through. So I'm like, I can't. I can't.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I approach horror a very different way. I don't. Maybe when I was a kid, but I don't really have those visceral reactions to scary movies in terms of like, I can't sleep.
Must be nice.
Because I know that
I do.
it is.
I'm such a bitch. I can't do it, man.
Jose, what's it like being God's favorite? Like,
right?
It's a lot of responsibility, but it's great. It's like hearing like, oh, I couldn't sleep because of this. I'm like, gee, I wonder what that would be like. And I'm not like talking down, but it's just in terms of like my approach is I know there are people behind the scenes. I know there's a makeup guy who did this. I know, because I know the nuts and bolts. I approach it from a very nuts and bolts thing. And as a writer, here's the thing: when you start writing movies, and maybe actors are probably the same way. When you start writing movies, you'll never watch a movie the same way again. We're like, well, that was a weird dialogue piece. But why is that happening so soon? Oh, that's interesting. Why did they make that choice? And so I'm analyzing as I'm watching. So I can't ever be like hiding my face because I know it's not real. What I don't like, and it is closer to Chrissy's point, is SA stuff. We won't say that out loud, but. A really graphic violence that's just violent for the sake of violence. I think that's unnecessary. I think horror movies should be fun and they shouldn't be exploitative to the point where like, oh my God, I feel so bad for that actor that they have to go through this and what is because as a filmmaker, like what is the filmmaker thinking showing us this? This is such an awful thing. What is the mentality behind this person is probably not healthy. And that's the stuff I don't like. And that's the stuff I kind of try to stay away from. Like there's a couple movies I've never seen that I will never see. Like a Serbian film. I've been told what happens. Like, no way. No, thank you. Anything with children? No. But not that it scares me, but it's just like, it's ugly and I don't need to see that,
Yep. Not for anything. It's funny that you mentioned a Serbian film because I am Bosnian and we are right next door to that. Don't worry, we're nicer. Okay.
Good to know.
We make bread and we feed our cattle. I know that we're at time and I want to respect everyone's time, but before we wrap up our closing statement as the Paranormal Misfits podcast, can you both just take a moment and tell the audience where they can find you, how they can connect with you, all of those things?
Sure. I have to remember all my handles. I think on Instagram I'm Mr. Jose Prendes because there was another Jose Prendes, so I just put the Mr. in front. You know how it is.
Was OJ taken or something?
OJ was taken at the time. Yeah, there was already an OJ. I was like, dang, that would have been perfect. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter as my YouTube Nom de Plume Master Chaos. I have a YouTube channel, Master Chaos, where we review movies and things like that, and I'll have you guys on an episode in the
For
near
sure.
future.
Thank you.
But that's sort of where I will be. YouTube is Master Chaos and Mr. Jose Prentice on Instagram.
And where can they watch Monster Mash?
Right now it's I think it's on Amazon Prime. I had to double check. It should be up there, but it'll be on Tubi, I think, for Halloween. But you can also get it on Fandango at home, which used to be Vudu, Apple TV. I think anywhere streaming you'll be able to find it, or you can just go to the IMDb page, and I think they usually link where it's streaming. Those would be the best ways to find that film, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you're monster kids, you know who you are, then I think you'll enjoy it. 'Cause, it was made with love for you guys.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And Ethan, where can the audience find you?
You can find me at my name, Ethan Daniel Corbett, on all platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram. I don't really do X. I don't really do Threads or anything like that, but mostly just Instagram is where I'm at. That's like the only social media I really use. And a little bit of TikTok.
Oh, okay. I'll find you on TikTok. I love. I'm getting as much out of TikTok before they take it away. Like,
Yeah, I know. I just post silly things on there. Just
Okay.
stupid things that only I think is funny. So
love it so much. We're gonna get our closing done, but if you guys can just hang out like really quick after we record, just so we can at least say thank you properly.
Mhm.
Sure.
Alrighty. Well, Chrissy, how was this for you?
Oh my God, it was so fantastic. I appreciate this so much.
Absolutely. Thank you both, Jose and Ethan, for coming on to the Paranormal Misfits podcast. And
Thank you.
of course. And to our folks at home, we know that you have to leave. But if you are going to go, you might as well creep out. Thank y'all.
Bye, guys.